Road rage on I-65 north of downtown Louisville today. A man is shot and a woman is being questioned by Indiana State Police. Hello, everybody, and thank you for staying up a little late with us tonight on the night team. I'm Doug Proffitt. It all happened at about 2 o'clock this afternoon right in southern Indiana. Indiana State Police say the shots happened on the interstate near Henryville, 30 minutes north of Louisville. Indiana State Police telling us late today that 2 separate cars pulled over with a woman eventually shooting a man. Police say the victim then got back in his car and stopped at a nearby Shell station where EMS responded. WHAS11 night teams Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Aspen Hester reveal how this all escalated.
This is I-65, 30 minutes north of Louisville. This afternoon in Henryville, Indiana, a sideswipe crash leads to a shooting.
Maybe you be like, oh, hey, what's your insurance? That's it. Like, you don't have to pull a gun on nobody. That's incredibly nuts.
We met Henryville resident Martha Lee at this Shell gas station off exit 19 on I-65. It's the same gas station where a man drove for help after police say he had been shot in a road rage incident.
So, like, we all know everybody around here, and it's just really bizarre. Like, why, like, you never hear anything like that happening here, so it's the fact that it happened here of all places.
Indiana State Police say around 2 p.m. 2 cars driving down this stretch in Clark County, Indiana, got into a sideswipe crash that escalated.
Whose state got on the line with them? Is it the shooter?
I can't advise you.
Police say the driver of this red Ford Bronco, a woman who called 911 dispatchers after the sideswipe. The dispatcher advised her to pull off and check the car's damage.
We've got the red Bronco here on the ramp.
Police say the driver of a white Chrysler minivan followed. That's when both drivers got out of their cars near Henryville with handguns. Police say the Bronco driver fired 4 bullets. Indiana State Police Trooper Philip Hensley said all while the suspected shooter was still on the phone with 911.
Our dispatch hears the gunshots and then tells us she hears shots fired. Well, certainly every trooper that's close starts heading that direction.
The driver of the Ford Bronco who fired shots was detained on scene and taken to the ISP post in Sellersburg for questioning.
On the scene just after, shattered glass on the ground, shell casings, and evidence markers.
I think it's insane, frankly. Like, you don't really ever hear anything like that happening here, but here lately it's really ramped up. Stuff's gotten really weird around here.
An argument that escalated with gunfire on the interstate. In Henryville, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS11 night team on your side.
And at this hour, authorities still haven't released the condition of the gunshot victim. Police also have not released any details about if the suspected shooter will be charged in this case. Right here, new tonight at Jefferson County Public School, security monitor is facing charges after allegedly giving a 12-year-old student a weed vape pen. Police say Eric Burnett was seen on video handing that pen to the student at Young Elementary School. According to the citation, the 12-year-old took 2 puffs of the pen in the bathroom and then returned the pen to Burnett. Burnett is facing charges of unlawful transaction with a minor, trafficking in marijuana, and a felony charge of trafficking a controlled substance within 1,000 feet of a school. Bills involving parents and their children in crimes are on their way to Frankfort, including one that would hold parents civilly liable for their child's misuse of a gun. WHS 11 team's Clarice Shaley looked at how this was a push by a northeastern state representative could have effects here in Louisville.
And this legislation sounds unfair.
Louisville anti-violence activist Chanel Helm. She's talking about a bill coming to Frankfort for the 2025 session.
That was just another way to increase incarceration in Kentucky.
That would hold parents civilly liable for their child's misuse of a gun.
We just kind of wrote the bill so that it would be in statute that parents are responsible for student gun violence.
The bill's sponsor, Representative Kim Banta.
My goal was just to kind of say to people, hey, let's recognize that guns in the wrong hands are dangerous.
Sponsored to deter parent negligence after she's seen an increase in child gun violence in both Louisville and northeastern Kentucky.
There could be no excuse for not taking some proper action to ensure that we protect young people.
Louisville Senator Gerald Neal supports changing the behavior, working on a similar bill right now. But it's a fine line.
What are the things that you can do without compounding unnecessarily a tragedy already? a lost child, for instance. And now all of a sudden, I didn't mean it.
Helms says parents of kids committing gun violence are already incarcerated.
I'm curious as to how this detours anything if we're increasing the amount of punishment for people instead of providing front-end relief.
It's a measure Helms says targets the West End.
That's the largest population of young people that are going to jail and prison here in Kentucky.
Even though we're voted in our area, we still feel very passionate about all of Kentucky.
Both taking to the state's capital next year to voice their opinion. In Louisville, Clarice Shaley, WHAS11 Night Team on your side.
Also here tonight, Kentucky's Attorney General is asking a Franklin County Circuit Court to end its block on the death penalty for Kentucky. The death penalty has been stayed, not used in Kentucky since 2010, amid concerns about the state's execution protocol and the mental health status of death row inmates. According to Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman, in March, the Beshear administration adopted policies that bring Kentucky into compliance with the court's concerns. In a statement, Russell Coleman says the victims of these brutal crimes and their families deserve the justice that was lawfully delivered by a Kentucky jury, in some cases decades ago. We are asking the court to respect the jury's verdicts and give these victims and their families the closure they have waited so long for. End quote. The man accused of gunning down the United Healthcare CEO in New York City is still at large. Police believe he left New York on a bus. Police still haven't been able to identify that man. However, they believe they have found his backpack. It was ditched in Central Park. And they also have photos of him smiling. ABC's Jacqueline Lee has the latest on the nationwide hunt.
Tonight, a major development in the manhunt for the suspect who gunned down healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Investigators discovering the missing backpack seen here in this surveillance video.
We're asking every New Yorker and American to look at the picture, the photo, and to assist us. If you know him, if his face looks familiar, please reach out to our law enforcement.
Friday afternoon, an army of New York police officers and drones fanned across Central Park to search for the gunman's backpack, where it was believed to be dropped. That work paid off. The suspect was last seen riding out of Central Park on this bike directly after the shooting. Police say they believe the suspect then hopped into a taxi, went to the bus station by the George Washington Bridge, and got away. Police sources tell ABC News that investigators believe the suspect arrived in New York 10 days before the shooting, boarding a Greyhound bus somewhere between Atlanta and Washington, D.C. Detectives are using facial recognition technology for these images of the suspect's face, captured when a clerk checked him into a hostel and asked to see his smile. The words deny, defend, and depose were found on the shell casings, a possible reference to the ways insurance companies avoid paying medical claims.
I think this shooter is trying to send a message that someone, either himself or a loved one or someone close to him, has been harmed by this insurance company.
Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
What we're not going to do is we're not going to succumb to political pressure and do what Baltimore did, which is rush it at the end and have mistakes in it that I think both the Department of Justice and the city of Baltimore wishes they had not done.
For the first time, Louisville Metro Police Chief Paul Humphrey, he said that this week, citing another city's issues when asked why a federal consent decree has not been signed yet for Louisville's Metro Police Department. That is the police reform agreement that Louisville has been working to finalize with the U.S. Department of Justice now for more than 9 months. Tonight, one man who was part of the negotiation for the city of Baltimore tells us Louisville has all the leverage now to delay this process if they want to, especially with President-elect Donald Trump taking office in just 6 weeks. Jason Johnson is the former deputy police commissioner for Baltimore. He helped negotiate their consent decree with the DOJ, and wishes they would have pushed back harder on some of their terms. Johnson's been warning cities like Louisville to be careful what they agree to, and it appears Louisville city officials are listening.
And I think it is smart to only enter into these things when you know and fully understand all those implications. So I agree with the chief's comments, and I think it's a prudent course to take. I don't think that you could force a consent decree upon them in the next 6 weeks. I just don't think it's going to happen.
And with all consent decree negotiations expected to end once Donald Trump takes office on January 20th, Johnson said Louisville has all the power. He says the DOJ cannot wrap up negotiations unless the city wants to. And he argues that the feds may have to make major concessions in certain areas just to move the needle. City council members to the west of us in Brandenburg, Kentucky are set to vote on a 2% restaurant tax after this weekend. But restaurant owners are sharing their skepticism on how the city would spend that money. Brandenburg's mayor, David Pace, says the city needs the tax revenue for a balanced budget, but critics say the city council should not have voted for elected officials' raises if that was the case.
I'm not sure that we've gotten any good reason for the fees yet. That's a concern.
Down the road, it's going to get worse and worse because costs are going up and our income's staying level.
The proposed tax will be considered at the next regular meeting of the Brandenburg City Council. That's coming up in just a few days on Monday, December 9th at 7 o'clock. Indiana Governor-elect Mike Braun is unveiling some of the agenda that he wants to tackle when he takes office in Indianapolis. A priority for Braun is tackling the cost of health care for Hoosiers. The governor-elect isn't new to trying to address the cost of health care. He worked on the issue as an Indiana lawmaker and as U.S. Senator. Braun says he wants to focus on investment into wellness and preventative care, an approach the governor-elect said he took in his own business that helped lower costs 16 years ago.
We don't pay attention to diet, lifestyle, and a simple profile of where is your own health at, and then try to energize Hoosiers to be caretakers of their own plant and equipment.
Braun's agenda also emphasizes continued coverage for pre-existing conditions and reforms to mental health treatment in hopes of reducing the burden on the criminal justice system.